What's up? Thanks for coming over. I'm really excited to start our D&D campaign. Yeah, I think it'll be really fun. I'm gonna try to make it very user-friendly since you're just starting. So, do you have any idea what you want to be as your character? No? Okay, good thing I am prepared. So, do you know anything about D&D at all? No? Okay, so basically it is a role-playing game, and you can go as crazy as you want. You can sit there and be normal and just talk how you would normally talk, and just have, similar attributes that you have in the game, or you can go crazy and be a totally different species or whatever you want. And basically, we just sit as a group together around a table, and we have a little setup, and our dungeon master will start the game for us and help us with our character creation and kind of lay a setting for us each time of where we are, what we're doing, where we're going. And throughout the story, there's different twists and turns and bosses and monsters to battle together. And you can either be the ultimate hero or the ultimate villain or the ultimate joker or whatever you want. And it's just really fun. A lot of people get really into it and will dress up or put on an accent or really play around with it. And some people just feel more comfortable being themselves, but themselves as a hero. And being able to battle monsters just as yourself is such a fun thing to do, and that's really why I enjoy it. Is I can be a little more brave than I would be in real life and defeat villains and monsters and cast spells and have really cool abilities. So I really enjoy it, and I think you will too. So the first step of character creation is figuring out your race, class, and background. So let's just start with race. So there are dwarves, there are elves, and halflings, and humans, and dragonborns, and gnomes, and half-elves, and half-orcs, and tieflings. And maybe you'll recognize some of those from high fantasy films or TV shows, think like Lord of the Rings type of characters. And so that kind of gives you a better idea of what we're looking at here. So I'll kind of just do a brief description of what each of them are and what their races mean for you as a player. Okay, so starting with dwarves. Dwarves are bold and hardy. They're known as skilled warriors and miners and workers of stone and metal. They stand well under 5 feet tall, and they're so broad and compact that they can weigh as much as a human standing nearly 2 feet taller than them. Their courage and endurance are also easily a match for any of the larger folk. Dwarven skin ranges from deep browns to a paler hue tinged with red, but the most common shades are light brown or deep tan. Like certain tones of earth, their hair, worn long but in simple styles, is usually black, gray, or brown, though paler dwarves often have red hair. And male dwarves value their beards highly and grow them carefully. They have a long memory and hold grudges. They come from clans and kingdoms. they are often motivated by glory, treasure, or gods, and they are slow to trust. And then so the traits that you would be, that are important to gameplay. You're a dwarf, you get an ability score increase, your constitution, which constitution is basically like how well can you hold, like a lot of times it's in relation to your stomach, and how well you can handle things. So like if you get super drunk in an adventure, you know, you might not hold your liquor as well, if you have a low constitution score, or if something would make you sick, you're more likely to get sick the lower your score is. Or a lot of times if someone has like an influencing spell that can impact your constitution, then that can be a factor as well. So as a dwarf, your constitution score increases by 2, and we'll do the scores later, but you kind of just roll for those, and then you can kind of pick and choose where the scores go, but the bonus of being a dwarf is that you'll get that +2. So if you have maybe like a lower score and you want everything to be a little more even, you could put it on constitution, or you can max it out with that +2. So that's really helpful. And then, so age, dwarves mature at the same rate of humans, but they're considered young until they reach the age of 50. On average, they live about 350 years. So that's really cool. So you could be an old dwarf and like still be able to hold your own. Most dwarves are lawful, believing firmly in the benefits of a well-ordered society. They tend toward good as well, with a strong sense of fair play and a belief that everyone deserves to share in the benefits of a just order. Again, their size, they stand between 4 and 5 feet tall and average about 150 pounds. So you'd be a medium-sized race or character, whatever you want to call it. And then speed. So this has to do with how quickly you can move throughout the game, especially when you're in the middle of battles. Speed is important because you'll be able to reach opponents more quickly, or flee more quickly the faster your speed is. And basically it just means you get to do more throughout your turns the faster you are. So dwarf speed is about 25 feet as a base, and then it is not reduced by wearing heavy armor, so you can be really bulked up with heavy armor and be able to protect yourself while also moving at the same rate, which is awesome. Means dwarfs are pretty strong. And then dark vision, so this is like if we're going through a cave during a scene, or a tunnel, or you know, we get stuck in the dark or whatever. Outside, you have dark vision, so accustomed to life underground, you have superior vision in the dark and dim conditions. You can see in dim light within 60 feet of you as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. You can't discern color in the darkness, only shades of gray. So it's helpful, but if you're looking for like a particular maybe shade of dragon or a type of guild that wears a certain color of cloak, you'd still have to get close enough to be able to discern color. But you know, as far as just seeing like shapes in the distance, dark vision is really helpful for that. Okay, a few more. So dwarven resilience, you have an advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have a resistance against poison damage, which is cool. Dwarven combat training, you have proficiency with the battle axe, hand axe, throwing hammer, and warhammer. So you really bring it down. And then tool proficiency, you can gain proficiency with the artisan's tools of your choice, including smith's tools, brewer's supplies, and mason tools, so you're crafty. Stone cunning, whenever you make an intelligence check or history check. So basically, just, again, that's going to be kind of like constitution, like a certain attribute you have that you roll for. But this gives you an advantage. So whenever you make an intelligence check related to the origin of stonework, you are considered proficient in the history skill and add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your normal proficiency bonus. So that's really cool. Okay, and then languages. You can speak, read, and write Common and Dwarvish, so 2 different languages. Dwarvish is full of hard consonants and guttural sounds. Those characteristics spill over into whatever language a dwarf might speak. So you'll have a little bit more of a gruff tone as you speak even the common, tongue, which is mostly, like in my group, it would be English. But just whatever your group speaks, that's what's considered common tongue. And then, Dwarvish and Draconic and Elvish are all different languages. And there's many more, but those are the main ones. And then subrace. So 2 main subraces of dwarves populate the worlds of D&D, hill dwarves and mountain dwarves. And then they also have a little bit of proficiency as well. So hill dwarves have a wisdom score that increases by 1, and then mountain dwarves have a strength score that increases by 2, and then the hill dwarves have dwarven toughness, which means your hit points increase by 1 and increase by 1 every time you gain a level, which is super helpful. And then dwarven armor training. For a mountain dwarf means that you have proficiency with light and medium armor. And then as we talked about before, dwarves can carry heavy armor and still be able to move just fine. But those are kind of just a rundown of some of their abilities. So we're just going to go quickly through the rest. An elf, they are slender and graceful, timeless, and come from the hidden woodland realms. They have a keen sense of exploration and adventure. And so for traits, they get an ability score increase. They also age even more than dwarves. They can live up to 750 years old. Elves love freedom, and so their alignment is more usually gentler than like chaotic. So usually like lawful, not really a vicious race. They are usually very tall, but they can be between 5 and over 6 feet tall. They're a little bit faster. They can walk up to 30 feet per turn, as opposed to the 25 for a dwarf. They also have dark vision. They have proficiency in perception, and they also have advantage on saving throws for being charmed, as opposed to poison like the dwarf was, which means that someone and magic can't put them to sleep, which is really helpful. And they also don't need to sleep. So they more go into like a meditative state for a shorter amount of time, so 4 hours instead of like your typical 8 hours for a rest. And so basically they recoup quicker with those rests and can get back to battling a lot faster, which is cool. And then they speak Common Tongue and Elvish. And then they do have other sub-races. So there's High Elf and Dark Elf. And they're basically from different regions. They also have different like little sub-abilities and increases, which we can look into if you choose to be an elf. But they're super, super cool. We have a girl that's an elf in my campaign that we're doing right now. And it is a lot of fun. So she has a lot of cool abilities. So that's awesome. The next race would be a halfling. And they are small and practical, kind and curious. and blend into the crowd. They are pleasant and like to explore. And some of their abilities, let's see here. So they get higher dexterity because they are small and quick. They generally age, so they reach adulthood by the age of 20 and live into the middle of his or her second century, so about 200. And then they're usually lawfully good, which is cool. They are about 3 feet tall and weigh 40 pounds, so very small. They are considered a small size. They also walk 25 feet. They are lucky, which means when you roll a natural 1 on an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, they can re-roll and must use the new roll, which is cool because basically you don't like auto fail if you fail. So that's really nice, because natural 1, when you're trying to roll to do something, a 20 is the best and a 1 is the worst. And if you roll a 1, it really backfires. So you don't want that. So that's actually really cool to have. You had an advantage on saving throws when you are frightened. You have nimbleness, so you're very quick, especially against larger creatures. You can speak and write common tongue and the halfling tongue. And then there is a lightfoot halfling, a stout halfling, and I think that's it. Just 2 sub races there, and actually my husband is playing a stout halfling right now, and he's really cool too. So, and then a human, they're more broad spectrum, and they have a lot of variety, very ambitious, and then they're just similar to what we know as common ethnicities, is usually, whatever you are or want to be, you can be traits of that race. You get an ability score increase. So all your abilities increase by 1, which is cool. Humans live, so they reach adulthood in their late teens and live less than a century, so common to what we know. And then no particular alignment, so you can kind of choose there. Wide range of sizes, but the average is from about barely 5 feet tall to well over 6 feet tall. Medium-sized, walking speed is 30 feet. Languages, you can speak and write common and 1 extra language of your choice, which is kind of neat. And I really enjoy speaking Draconic in the group I'm in. We encounter a lot of dragons, so that's been really helpful. So Dragonborn. So proud dragonkin is, they're basically descendants of dragons, self-sufficient, and just really cool. So their traits. Your ability score increase is through strength and charisma. And then age, they are born, reach adulthood by 15 and live to be around 80. So similar to like a human. And then for alignment, they tend to be very extreme. So cosmic war, internal war between good and evil, and they can be terrible villains or amazing heroes, and very cool. They are taller and heavier than humans, so they usually stand well over 6 feet tall and weigh over 250 pounds. 250 is about average, it says. Also medium sized. And they also move at 30 feet, which is cool. And then, depending on your ancestry, you can breathe like a certain type of damage, like dragon breath. but it's not just fire, so not just dragon fire, but depending on what color you come from of dragon, you have different types of damage. So black dragons deal acid damage, blue dragons deal lightning damage, brass dragons deal fire damage, bronze deal lightning as well, copper dragons deal acid, gold deal fire, green deal poison, red deal fire as well, and silver and white deal cold damage, which is freaking cool. And then, so that's one weapon that you have. You're also resistant to the damage that you can deal. So if you have that associated with you, for example, if you're a black dragon, you would resist acid damage, things like that. So that's super cool. A good one probably for them would probably be fire damage then. That's what I would choose. I'm not a dragon born in my group, but I have a draconic bloodline. And then I think I'm a human other than that. But I come from a draconic bloodline, which means I still resist that type of damage, and it also helps to heal me. And so I come from a red dragon. And so if there's fire around me, I can actually heal myself from it, which is super, super cool. And then you read, write, and speak Common Tongue and Draconic. So that's super awesome. For gnomes, they are vibrant, they are dedicated, and curious and impulsive. So, and then their ability score increase is intelligence, so they're very smart. They mature same rate as humans. Sorry, I'm just trying to read the handbook here to help you. But then they expected to reach adult life and settle down by 40, and they live to anywhere from 350 to 500 years old. So that's super cool. Gnomes are usually good. Doesn't mean you have to be, but they're usually good. 3 to 4 feet tall, 40 pounds, small sized, 25 feet is the walking distance. They also have dark vision. Very cunning, and so you have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, which is cool. If someone's trying to do magic to hurt you, you can save yourself with those, which is amazing. And then read and write common and gnomish, and then there's forest gnomes and rock gnomes. So those are sub races, and then you can choose. If you were to choose to be a gnome, those are some sub-races. So you can be like from the forest, or you can be proficient in like earth and rocks, and it's really cool. So next would be half-elves, and they're of two worlds, which means that they are half-elf, half-human. They're diplomats and wanderers, and ambassadors, and usually good. Some of their traits, so your ability score increase would be charisma goes up by 2, and any other ability of your choice goes up by 1, which is awesome. So you kind of get the best of both worlds there. They mature and age at the same rate as humans, reach adulthood around 20, but then they live much longer than humans. So they live sometimes often over 180. So that's super cool. Interesting. So they actually share the chaotic bent of their elven heritage. So they both value both personal freedom and creative expression. And then Chafet rules. So it means you're more of a chaotic type. So you could be chaotic neutral, you can be chaotic evil, or chaotic good. But chaotic is really fun to play. About the same size as humans, so you're medium size, walk about 30 feet for your speed. You do have dark vision as well, and the Fey ancestry that elves have, which means you can't be charmed or put to sleep. And then very versatile. You can also speak Elvish and Common Tongue. So that's awesome. Half orc, similar to half elf, just in that you're half orc, half human. They are scarred and strong, a little bit begrudging. Ability score increase, your strength score increases by 2 and constitution increases by 1, which is awesome. Age, let's see, they mature around 14 and age noticeably faster and rarely live longer than 75. That sucks. Alignment, they usually tend toward chaos as well. Those half races seem to be a little crazy. They are also medium size, 30 feet on speed. They also have dark vision. They are menacing, and so that means that you gain proficiency when you're trying to intimidate a foe, which is really cool. And then very endurant, have good endurance when you are reduced to 0 hit points, when you've been hit a lot and you're taking a lot of damage. Instead of being dropped to 0, you drop to 1 hit point instead. But then if you're hit again, you will die. Or like throw a saving throw to see if you live. But you can do that once per rest. You can go down to 1 instead of just immediately dying. If something knocks you down to 0 suddenly. You have savage attacks, so when you score a critical hit with a melee weapon, when you're like in close combat and you're hitting someone with like a sword, you deal extra damage. And then languages, you speak Common and Orc, obviously. So that's cool. And then the last one is Tiefling. And Tieflings are from an infernal bloodline, self-reliant, suspicious, and not very trusting. And then your ability score increase is in intelligence, and your charisma increases by 2, so very charming. They mature the same rate as humans, but live a few years longer, so maybe to like 100. As far as alignment goes, they don't have a tendency toward evil, but many end up evil, which is interesting. Very independent, sometimes leaning toward chaotic as well. Fast, so they're 30 feet as well on speed. They do have dark vision. They have a cool trait called hellish resistance. Which means you have resistance of fire damage. And then Infernal Legacy, you know a certain spell or cantrip is what it's called, which you can use more often than spells. And once you reach level 3, you can cast the Hellish Rebuke spell once per day as a 2nd level spell. Once you reach 5th level, you can cast the spell. Also cast the Darkness spell once per day, and Charisma is your spell casting ability for these spells, which their Charisma is increased, which really makes your spell strong if it's a high level trait. So that's cool. And then you speak and write Common and Infernal, which I did not know that's a language. That's super cool. So those are kind of the races there. And then as far as classes go, classes are Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. So, I'm just going to do a quick rundown of what each of those are. Quick descriptions on these. So, a Barbarian is a fierce warrior of primitive background who can enter a battle rage. And then they are proficient in light and medium armor, shields, and simple and martial weapons. A bard is an inspiring magician whose power echoes the music of creation. Very charismatic. They are proficient in light armor, simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. Cleric a priestly champion who wields divine magic in service of a higher power. They are very wise, and they are proficient in light and medium armor, shields, and simple weapons. A druid is a priest of the old faith, wielding the powers of nature, moonlight, and plant growth, fire and lightning, and adopting animal forms, which is what my husband is. So he is a halfling, a stout halfling, who there is a druid class. So he can do wild shape. So he can change into an animal, which is really helpful when we're trying to spy on like a opposing group. Very intelligent and wise. They are proficient in light and medium armor that is non-metal, and non-metal shields, so like leather or wood would work fine. And then clubs and daggers and darts, javelins, maces, quarterstaff, scimitars, sickles, slings, and spears. So a lot of options as a druid, which is cool. Then there is a fighter, a master of martial combat, skilled with a variety of weapons and armor. So think like martial arts. They are very strong and have good constitution. And they are proficient in all armor, shields, simple, and martial weapons. That's really cool. And then there is a monk, a master of martial arts, harnessing the power of the body in pursuit of physical and spiritual perfection. They have good dexterity and wisdom, and are proficient in simple weapons and short swords. Next, we have a paladin, and he is a holy warrior bound to a sacred oath. And then he is wise and charismatic as well, proficient in all armor, shields, and simple and martial weapons. Then we have a ranger, a warrior who uses martial prowess and nature magic to combat the threats on the edges of civilization. Very good dexterity and wisdom as well. Light and medium armor, shields, simple and martial weapons are the proficiencies. A rogue is a scoundrel who uses stealth and trickery to overcome obstacles and enemies. And then they have good dexterity and intelligence. And then light armor, simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords are their proficiency. Just a few more. So sorcerer is a spellcaster who draws an inherent magic from a gift or bloodline. So that's what I am. I'm a sorcerer with a draconic bloodline, so I can draw on that. Very charismatic, good constitution. They're proficient in daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. So that's my favorite way to deal damage, is a crossbow with darts. I always do really well with that, so that's really cool. And then a warlock, a wielder of magic that is derived from a bargain with a extraplanar entity. Very wise and charismatic. Light armor, simple weapons are their proficiency. And then lastly, a wizard, a scholarly magic user capable of manipulating the structures of reality. Intelligent and wise, and then they're proficient in daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. So very similar to a sorcerer. Backgrounds, I'm not going to get too far into, but it's basically kind of where your character came from before gameplay begins. That can provide some more proficiencies or skills or languages. So basically, I'm just going to tell you what they are. So there's an acolyte, a charlatan, a criminal, an entertainer, a folk hero, a guild artisan, a hermit, a noble, an outlander, a sage, a sailor, a soldier, and an urchin. So I think my character is an urchin, which basically means they kind of come from a poor background, maybe like a bad childhood, and a lot of times urchins feel the need to prove themselves. Before we move on to stats, I guess I need to let you decide. So what would you say is your favorite race? Let me read them again just to give you a brief reminder. So there's dwarf 1, elf 2, halfling 3, human 4, dragonborn 5, gnome 6, half elf 7, half orc 8, and a tiefling 9. What would you say is your favorite elf? Cool. Yeah, like I was saying, we have an elf in our group. She's very strong. I'm gonna write your sheet down for you. Okay, and then a class. So barbarian 1, bard 2, cleric 3, druid 4, fighter 5, monk 6, paladin 7, ranger 8, rogue 9, sorcerer 10, warlock 11, wizard 12. What would you think? A barbarian. Okay. A barbarian elf. That will be really fun. That'll be a fun thing to play. And then background. Do you think acolyte 1, charlatan 2, criminal 3, entertainer 4, folk hero 5, guild artisan 6, hermit 8, noble 9, outlander 10, sage 11, sailor 12, soldier 13, or urchin 14. A criminal. Okay. Elf barbarian criminal. I like it. I think that'll be really fun. Okay, let's work on your stats. So first, I want to show you some of my dice so you can kind of get a feel for what everything is. So this first one is called a D4. So basically, each of them will just D is for dice, I think, and then 4 is like, so there's 4, 6, 8, 10, and 20. And that basically just tells you how many sides it has. So when you roll, it can land on whatever side. So this is my D4. If you can see, and it's just like a little pyramid. Oh, almost dropped it. But yeah. It's a fun one. This is usually something that's used to roll damage, for me at least. And then a 6 is just going to be your average 6-sided dice, so a little cube. I just like tapping them. And then a D8, I think this one is my 8. Yes. So this one looks like a little diamond, and it is a good one as well. I really like how like smoky my dice look, because I'm a sorcerer and I'm from a draconic bloodline, so I feel like that's a nice little touch that I wasn't intending on, but I like it anyway. Next is a D10, so it looks like a little top, and then you spin it. Has 5 sides on each side, and but it goes up by tens. I usually spin it when I'm bored. This one is a D12, so that's one I was missing. And this one looks like a little, I don't know, jungle gym shape, maybe? Like maybe a hexagon? I don't know. I'm not familiar with shapes. But, yeah. And this is a fun one. Sometimes when we're thinking or bored or whatever, we'll spin our dice, we'll throw our dice around, or this is a good one to stack your dice on top of in a little shape. So this is also a D10. So there's one that goes to 100 or 90. There's one that just goes to 10 also. That's very similar. And then my favorite that you use the most is a D20. And you know, like I've said before, that natural 20 is what you're going for. But this is my favorite. I would like to get a bunch of different dice and colors, but I would settle for just a bunch of D20s as well. So now we're going to work on more stats. Like I mentioned before, there'll be deception, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, constitution. All of those are what we're going to figure out next. And this will greatly impact how good your character is. So it'll be fun to see. So we want 6 total numbers. So we're going to want to roll a d6 4 times for every result, and then drop the lowest. And then add those together, and that'll be one number for one stat. And then we'll do that 6 times. And then we'll assign them to abilities. Let's see what we get. Okay, a 2. Let's do 6 columns here so I don't forget. 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so a 2, a 3, a 4, doing pretty good, 5. It's a 4 again. Okay, so we'll drop that 2. Then 8 plus 3 is 11 for that one. And we'll do it more. Ooh, 1. Bummer. A 4. Maybe we'll go straight 4s. That would be good. A 4. Am I speaking it into existence? A 4. No way. Okay. So a 12. And then the next one. A 1 again. That one looks so good. Oh, a 5. Okay. A 3. A 3. We'll drop that one. And 8 plus 3 is also 11. A 6, finally. Oops, drop that one. That one doesn't count. A 1, bummer. A 3. A 3. Minus that 1, 9, so 12. Oh, it has gone 11, 12, 11, 12 so far. Hopefully that's not how it will stay. Okay, a 5. A 5. A 2. A 3. So we'll drop that to 13. Nice. And then a 1. A 4. Drop that one. A 5. And a 5. Drop that 1. 14. Nice. Got a little better. Okay. now that that's done, we will assign them. And then, like I said before, choosing your race and your class and everything will add some modifiers. So, I think I would say you're like a wood elf, kind of out in the forest, being mysterious. So we'll do that. Class was barbarian, which is super fun. And then, do you think for barbarian they have some proficiencies they can choose from? So you can be proficient in animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, or survival. What do you think you'd want to be good at? Animal handling, okay, and you can choose 2, so you can choose one more. Intimidation, cool. Alrighty. Next. Okay, so we do have some modifiers that we can consider when we're applying our numbers here. So dexterity has a +2 because you're an elf. And then wisdom has a +1. So let's maybe do, what would you want to do? Maybe one of your lower scores in dexterity. It will go up a little bit with that modifier. Okay, so dexterity will be one of our 11s. And then maybe we can do, since wisdom has a +1, we could do the other 11 for that. Does that sound okay? Okay. And then we have 2 12s, a 13, and a 14. And we have strength, constitution, intelligence, and charisma left. Okay, you want to be really smart. So we'll do our 14 and then we'll do, and then you want to be strong after that. So maybe our 13 in that one. And then the 2 12s go between constitution and charisma, which puts us at a 13 strength. Oh, we do have some modifiers as well, so that's awesome. So a 13 strength, a 13 dexterity, a 12 constitution, 14 intelligence, a 12 wisdom, and a 12 charisma. I think those are super good. Awesome. And then background, we're doing criminal, and it's actually criminal/spy. So that's really cool. And as a criminal/spy, you are proficient in deception and stealth and thieves' tools. So you can like pick a lock and stuff, and it's really cool. So you can also have a gaming set, which can come in handy, assuming you need to communicate with someone that maybe is like, oh, I'll only explain this to you over a game of dragon chess or whatever. So there's a dice set, there's dragon chess set, playing cards, and a 3 dragon ante set. Playing cards. Okay, awesome. Let's see here. And would you like to start with equipment or gold? Equipment, good choice. So you can start with a great axe or a martial melee weapon. An axe, okay. And then you can also have 2 hand axes, which are a little smaller, or any simple weapon. A simple weapon you would choose from a boomerang, a club, crossbow, dagger, dart, great club, hand axe, javelin, light hammer, a mace, a quarterstaff, a short bow, a sickle, a sling, or a spear, a crossbow. Okay, me too, it's my favorite. Then you'll have an explorer's pack, a crowbar, clothes, including a hood, and you'll still have 15 gold. So that looks really good. And then I would just suggest that you think of a background story for your character, maybe some like features, what they look like, and that would be awesome. So for now, we'll just start you there, and that'll be a great way to ease into it. That will be really fun. So I hope that you will join us next week for the campaign. Okay, see you next week.